the mic.
Yeah, if you were not Jewish, that was a problem. People misunderstand. There's actually a lot of Christian Palestinians. I actually live near the biggest Christian village in the West Bank. It's called El Taiba.
How common is an encounter with the IDF?
Every day, you'll encounter them. You cannot go one day without dealing with the IDF. They could hold you as long as they want.
Holy dude, you guys are black people there.
Worse, IDF soldiers are allowed to invade a house to search for any suspicious activities as they want. So they're in my village knocking on doors.
You are describing a movie plot that I have seen in a movie theater with popcorn.
It feels unreal sometimes, right?
What does the average Palestinian feel about Hamas? Everybody here in America knows somebody that's in the military. How often do you know somebody that is in a resistance group, terrorist group, whatever you want to call it?
It's often. I mean, the word resistance is really anybody that's fighting for their freedom.
The Hijack with DJ Zouain on the N.FM.
Back in the before times, my roommate and I would frequent a Cuban joint that had very, very good food. I never noticed, but my roommate said that I was getting more food than he was. Now, he showed me, and he was right. I thought that it was a mistake, and so we went a couple more times. And the next time he ordered food for himself, I ordered food for myself in Spanish, and I got visibly more food. The next time I ordered for both of us, and we got the same amount of food. I never thought that I was getting preferential treatment because of how I looked, but I was. We were on our way home, and during the conversation, we realized that I acted the same way that my white friends act like when I tell them about my encounters with police. They automatically assume that I did something to provoke it. The way that I've been talked to and treated by police, I would have had to do something really fucked up for them to treat me that way. But the reality is that I have been just stopped and asked if I had guns, knives, or explosives. I have been stopped and asked if they could search my car by the same cop 4 times in the same month. And this is during my break from weed. So you couldn't even be blaming that. You couldn't even blame that my car smelled like weed, because it didn't. I start the show with this story because I want my friends who aren't part of marginalized groups to have some context of how different our experiences with authority could be. On October 7th, the terrorist group Hamas descended on a music festival. The death toll has been disputed, but it pales in comparison to the civilian deaths in Palestine that have been endured by the Palestinian people, including women and children, civilians and women and children. This has given Israel the license to commit genocide on the Palestinian people, and our tax dollars are going to those bombs. As a recovering evangelical Christian, my entire life I've been conditioned to side with Israel. As a kid who grew up in punk rock, just the presence of a Nazi punk was enough to get into a fight. Over the years, I've seen, at best questionable and at worst, atrocious acts committed by Israel and the U.S. in the Middle East. Terrorist groups have reciprocated with violence, albeit less effective, because this is one of the most powerful militaries on the planet, with the most powerful military on the planet backing it, and they're going against a landmass that isn't even considered technically a state. The Palestinian side is always asked to condemn the atrocities of Hamas, whereas the Israeli side is never asked to condemn the Israeli terrorist attacks committed by the IDF against Palestine, which is with nearly as much vigor, I would say. When I was talking to my cousin, the one that grew up in Palestine, one of the ones that grew up in Lebanon, rather, he brought up a really good point. He said that part of the rebuilding process, once hopefully this ceasefire is hopefully accomplished. Now, this is before they started dropping bombs in Lebanon, which has happened since he and I talked. But he said that part of the rebuilding of after a ceasefire is hopefully accomplished is that there needs to be institutions to essentially tell the story. Most of the people in Palestine are under the age of 18, so the people that could have had that historical archive are dead, along with all of the artifacts destroyed and everything else. That is part of the reason that Palestine and Palestinians aren't looked at the same level as Israelis. That's the reason that we don't ask the Israelis about their terrorist attacks. Palestine is technically not even a state. That's part one of the dehumanization process in this particular instance. Part two is making sure that the history of these people are eradicated by eliminating and destroying the artifacts that tie the history to that land, a land that was occupied by them, the Palestinian people, for longer, way longer than the 1940s. And now Palestinians are forced to move from the north to the south and all over as a guise of possible safety, as a game of whack-a-mole, because that's where Hamas is. No, that's where Hamas is. The thing is that I'm not going to measure the violence done by the oppressor with the same stick as I would the one by the oppressed. To give you an example, the IDF killed 3 Israeli hostages that left their captors and were supposed to be rescued by the IDF. They were begging to be rescued by the IDF. These hostages took their shirts off to make sure the IDF knew that they weren't suicide bombers. The IDF confused them for Palestinians and shot them and asked questions later. Those IDF soldiers weren't castigated in the least from what I can tell. Please tell me if you find something, because I didn't. Now, to give you an example of how the IDF is treating Muslims in Gaza, the IDF soldiers went into a mosque with their shoes on and went to the podium where the call to prayer is sang and started playing Hanukkah songs. The soldiers were removed of duty at that point, but the people who killed those hostages didn't even get punished. The soldiers were removed of duty for doing that, while the others, they didn't get punished. They didn't get punished. That is the level of logic in this war by the bullies in the Israeli government. And I'm making the distinction because it's important. There are many Israelis, Jewish and secular, Hasidic and Orthodox, against this occupation. I'm also making this distinction because, let's face it, I'm a Lebanese guy hosting a show called The Hijack, about to bring on a Palestinian friend of mine. So while there are no shortage of jokes here, I want to make sure that I officially denounce the violence happening right now in the Middle East between the IDF and Hamas. Something that, like I said before, isn't asked of the Israeli people with as much conviction. I'm going to start the show, and my next guest is an old friend of my family. He grew up coming to my house, hanging out with my brother. Rami moved here to the U.S. from Palestine a week before 9/11 as a high school student in Lake Mary. In New York first, and then Lake Mary. Lake Mary, arguably, whitest town in all of Central Florida. He still has family in Palestine and frequently travels there. He and I chatted a few times about the conflict, and I told him I needed to have him on. So we're going to start the show with my buddy, Rami. What's up, man? How you doing?
What's up, man?
Dude, blown away. I guess maybe phrasing.
Interesting choice
Yeah,
of words.
interesting phrasing, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Hey, we all need a little bit of humor, right?
Yeah, right. You can only expect so much self-control because there's going to be jokes.
Oh, absolutely.
Once you've gone through enough shit, as I'm sure you have. And we're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
You try to find the yuck yucks at the end of the day. So thank you for indulging me, man. I appreciate you coming, man.
It's always good to have a good sense of humor, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So all right. So give me the cliff notes on your background.
Where do I start? So actually, I was born in Paterson, New Jersey.
Okay. All right. Word.
So right around, I think I was in 2nd or 3rd grade, my parents decided to, hey, let's move back home. Let's move back to Palestine. Let's get our kids more cultured. Let's, have them understand that side of their history, their family and whatnot. And yeah, my dad basically packed everything and we moved over there. It was in 1995, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, I grew up around about 6 years there.
Wow.
So about 6 years of my life. And, obviously with the second Intifada as the uprising,
Yeah.
things got pretty bad.
And how old were you when that was happening?
I was just finishing 8th grade, 7th grade, going into high school. So I was about 11, 12.
So explain what happened. What were the major things that you lived through as a kid in Palestine?
Yeah, honestly, it was pretty tough. I just remember just going to school every day, with checkpoints and fighting. So example, my school was like 30 minutes from my house.
Sure.
It would take us 3 hours.
So I've heard about this.
Yeah.
Coming as a Palestinian living in Palestine, under Israeli rule.
I lived in a little village right outside of Ramallah. It's actually near the biggest settlement in the west, in part of the West Bank called Ofra.
Okay.
It was an Israeli settlement. I actually remember everything, vividly. So.
So tell me, break me there because I want to know.
As a kid, you don't understand things quite. You think it's normal to live in that circumstance or that terrible situation.
That's your normal.
Essentially, it was apartheid. You read about it in books, in history books, like the South African apartheid and whatnot. And I never quite understood it until I actually moved to the U.S. And as I got older, my mind kind of expanded a bit. But yeah, man, it was hell. Like, I'll be honest.
Wow.
Luckily, other people have it harder.
For sure.
But yeah, I just remember every day getting in a bus, going from my village to the first checkpoint, having to get out that bus, jump into another cab, taking it to another checkpoint, and you repeat that 3 to 4 times a day in the morning. So, you'd wake up at 5 or 6 a.m. just to get to school by 9. It was pretty insane. And that's like a small part of the situation. It's constant fighting, harassment. A lot of kids can't say, I've seen people die. I've seen dead bodies. I've seen explosions. And it was crazy, honestly, man. It was fucking wild.
So what are some of the biggest differences? It sounds like there's a lot.
Yeah.
But what are some of the biggest differences between living as a Muslim, a Jew, or a secular person in Palestine? Are you better off as a secular person than being a Muslim?
Not at all. If you're not Jewish, that was a problem.
Oh, if you're not Jewish, get closer to the mic.
Yeah, if you were not Jewish, that was a problem.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So people misunderstand. There's actually a lot of Christian Palestinians. I actually live near the biggest Christian village in the West Bank. It's called El Taiba.
Okay.
And whether you're a Christian, atheist, Muslim, if you were non-Jewish, if you're an Arab, Palestinian, you were considered third-class citizen, even probably fourth, if that's even a real thing.
Wow.
So to Israelis, I'm not going to say Jews because there's a very big difference between Zionists and Jewish people.
Sure.
But to
Can
them,
you explain the difference?
Obviously, Judaism, the religion, it's one of the religions, follow the Torah, Prophet Moses, peace be upon him. Zionism is the idea of having a independent Jewish state. The reason why a lot of Orthodox Jews are anti-Zionism is because even within their own book with the Torah, they're forbidden to have their own state.
Okay.
Right? So just the idea of what a Zionist is just basically having control, like overall power within the Jewish state, non-secular, even though they say they're democracy.
Got it.
Right?
Yeah.
But they believe if you're not Jewish, that you are not considered a first-class citizen, so you go under different rules.
Now, is this something that they themselves would admit, or are they going to? Will they pussyfoot around it and be no, we kind of
They for decades they pussyfoot around it, but now they're just openly admitting it.
Now they're just openly like that's
they don't care anymore.
Yeah. We are who you think we are.
Yeah, when you have the American empire behind you.
I mean, yeah, like when you have that big a gun, you can say whatever you want.
Exactly.
And it looks like. So could you give us an example of first of all, how common is an encounter with the IDF as a kid living in Palestine?
Every day you'll encounter them. You cannot go one day without dealing with the IDF.
Really?
It's literally part of the fabric of life there. Like I said, they control everything. In terms of utilities, roads, your life, your movement is controlled by them. So as a Palestinian, you hold a card called a Hawiyya. It's an identification. It's an apartheid card, basically saying that you're Palestinian, right? You can't. It tells you where you can go, where you can't go. So there's like there's two versions of it. You have the Palestinians that have a Jerusalem Hawiyya.
Dude, do you have one?
Not anymore. Mine was taken away. I don't have one. My parents have one. I should have brought one, but
yeah. No, dude, we're gonna do another one. And actually, I meant to tell you, right now we're gonna talk about the political side of this and like the war side of this.
Yeah.
But I want to bring you into irreverent because you're also a practicing Muslim.
I am, yes.
So I wanna talk to you on the show about Christianity.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna talk about, and that show's called Irreverent. It's me talking about spirituality versus talking about. So we're gonna talk about that. But anyway, go on. So dealing with the IDF is a daily thing. Like this is some like you have to like every time you cross the street or you do this or you do that, some asshole is gonna be like it's some cop basically.
Yeah, I mean, for example, there's a city called El Khalil.
Okay.
Or in English, Hebron.
Okay.
I don't know if you heard about Hebron.
No.
But it's a city within the West Bank that 50% of it is actually occupied by Israel. So that city is very complicated where you have Israeli homes and communities interwoven with the Arab communities, right?
Okay.
So, for example, on holidays that are Jewish-specific holidays, they'll shut down the streets to forbid Palestinians walking, driving any of those streets for that holiday just for the safety of the settlers, right? So, and that kind of happens on an ongoing basis.
Wow.
I've had many encounters with the IDF as a young kid.
Walk me through one of like a bad. I don't want to fucking traumatize you or anything.
No, not at all. But like I said, I have a few examples. Here's one example.
Yeah, give me an example.
Me and my cousin Samir, if you met him before.
Yep, of course.
We had a local area where we play pool. It was like on a corner of a block.
Okay.
So we were there playing pool, and his brother and cousins thought it was funny to throw a firecracker at us.
Oh,
right?
God.
Firework. So we're kids. We're messing around.
Yeah. How old were you at this time?
I think I was 10 or 11 at the time, right?
Okay.
And kids, we're kids like the U.S. We're normal kids. We like to have fun.
Yeah.
So as they shoot the firework, an IDF Jeep passes by. It accidentally hit the Jeep.
Oh, God.
So as soon as it hit the Jeep, you have 5 soldiers just run out the car with their guns right away. And they're pointing to see who was there. Me and Samir. We're just sitting there playing pool. Little kids. We're like...
Yeah.
So they came right at us with the guns, thought it was us.
At 10 years old.
And think of this. They like, I'm not going to say the word kidnap, but there's a lot of times where they do just take kids. Kids for no reason. If they want to ask you questions, they'll take you to the Ofra, which is the settlement that they have, which holds a lot of jail. Like
Yeah.
So essentially, that was happening. They come at us with guns. Luckily, his uncle happened to be there. He runs. Starts screaming at them in Arabic, saying, "They're just my kids. My kids, let them be." It wasn't them. The other kids ran. He took us back to his house. Because if that didn't happen, God knows what would happen to us. You know what I mean?
My God,
they would have taken us, questioned us for no reason.
Sure.
And they could hold you as long as they want without actually convicting you of a crime.
Holy dude, you guys are black people there.
Worse.
I
don't like to make comparisons. When I moved to the U.S., I lived in black communities.
Yeah.
But I promise you, it's far worse than
obviously, yeah.
It's
this
insane.
it's but it's like the things that you're saying. It's like the cartoonish extreme version,
absolutely,
of that.
Yeah. It's you have to live it. You have to experience it to understand it.
Again, it's the Cuban food all over again. To me.
I remember I told this to my fiance when we first met, by the stories of living in Palestine, how I grew up there, and she thought it was a bit far fetched. Like, this can't be true. You might be over exaggerating.
Yeah,
and then my mom would tell her the same story without me being there.
Yeah.
She's like, holy shit, excuse my language.
No, dude, yes.
But yeah, I mean, listen, I remember as a kid, you start, throwing rocks, burning fire, tires. You get it, you get part of this resistance stuff.
Sure, yeah.
And the problem is if you throw a rock, man, that's like 10 years in jail.
Jesus.
So, interesting fact, Palestinians don't live under civil law. We live under military law with a 96% conviction rate. You can look this up.
Holy crap.
It's all, you can Google whatever you want. It's on there. On the internet, you can find all this information.
Dude, every time we sit down, it's like just it's like a fire hose of information, and then there's like a fire hose of like questions that I have now. Yeah. Like every time, it's like a Russian doll, just of questions.
Yeah.
So, all right. So living in Palestine as a Muslim, you have to basically planned 3 hour commute for like 7 miles.
Yeah, so interesting. It's living in Palestine as just a Palestinian. You could be Christian, you could be Muslim, you could be
non-Jew.
Non-Jew.
Okay, so anything that is not
non-Jewish,
Jewish,
you are an animal to them.
Yeah,
and
okay, that's actually part of their prayer, if I recall correctly. Where like a part of their prayer is, "I'm glad I'm not a woman," like a dude, a Jewish dude. I guess one of the prayers is like, "I'm glad I'm not a woman, a Gentile, or a dog, or some shit like that."
The Jewish. I'm not too familiar.
But one of my old friends who's very Jewish told me about it back in the day. It's very spotty, my memory about that. But either way, so this is living as not just a Muslim, but anybody who is not like Christian. So are there churches there too?
Absolutely. So you have obviously the Church of Nazareth, where Jesus was born.
Sure.
Bethlehem is a huge Christian community.
Okay.
They treat them even worse too. Like
what?
So when they say that
is wild.
They treat they're Palestinian in their eyes. Like you saw in Gaza recently when they blew up the oldest church in Gaza.
Yeah, I
like
didn't.
2-3 weeks after October 7th. Yeah.
Oh wow. Oh, that's right. Yes, I did hear about this.
They're saying like the Christian population in Gaza alone. I'm gonna say Gaza. I'm not gonna say it the American way, but it's dwindled down to like almost wiped out completely.
Wow.
So it's interesting. And listen, as a Palestinian community, we're not perfect. I mean, there's always arguments between Christians and Muslims, but I think it's over time, it is what it is. You know what I mean? But
sure.
Yeah, honestly, I never appreciated it until I left. As a kid, you don't understand things. You just want to live normal.
Yeah.
And sometimes it was hell living there, man. I remember one vivid story. I was in 5th grade.
Yeah.
5th grade. I went to a different school than my sisters. I went to a secular school, so it was Christian, Muslims. It was an American school.
Yeah.
And my sisters went to an all-girls school. So they had Fridays and Saturdays off. I had Fridays and Sundays off. So I would go to school on Saturdays by myself. I remember coming home one day in a bus. I get off the bus, walk down to my house. And understand this, IDF soldiers are allowed to invade a house to search for any suspicious activities as they want. So they're in my village knocking on doors. They happen to walk right by my door. So as I'm walking down from the bus stop or the taxi stop, I see 6 soldiers with their guns, and they look right at me. As a kid, I was terrified. I ran. I mean, I hightailed it out of there. I jumped behind a fence. That's a boogeyman. Yeah, I jumped right behind like this fence where my aunt happened to live, and I hid there for like a few minutes until they left, and I walked home to my mom. I was crying. I'll be honest with you. I was a kid.
Come on. I mean? Of course.
Yeah. And people say, it's trauma. I'm not traumatized, man. It's just the daily life. We're used to it.
No, but here's the thing, and I'm going to push back on that because I can tell you personally, from personal experience, and my brother, my brother.
Yeah.
My brother says he doesn't have PTSD, and he has signs of PTSD. He just doesn't recognize them.
Yeah.
You have signs of PTSD. You just don't recognize them. Like, I think that just because, and I get it because we come from an immigrant background. So for us, mental health is like, just like, whatever, mental health. Yeah. Fucking get over it.
Yeah.
And the thing is that, as somebody who has kind of recognized the traumatizing shit that a different problem, definitely less traumatic than what you went through in Palestine. So I can only imagine that there is trauma there that somebody with some initials at the end of their name could probably figure out. But ultimately, it's awful that you had to go through that. And what's infuriating to me as an American and as somebody who has a Lebanese last name, my entire fucking brand is a Lebanese name.
Yeah.
I am very proud of it. I will they could ask me if I have bombs all the time. Absolutely. I went from being a Christian to barely agnostic. So I don't play that game. And to me, it's not, and knowing people like you and knowing people like my cousins that I used to only talk to on the internet that I have now went and smoked cigars with, like, to me, that I want to. The reason I wanted you here is because I want to convey that to people that otherwise would not have that experience. It's not a thought exercise. These are people with actual family members that are there, that are dealing with this, and the information that I got from you and from my cousin, it's just like it's a cartoon. To me, it's a fucking cartoon. You are describing a movie plot that I have seen in a movie theater with popcorn.
It feels unreal sometimes, right?
Yeah. And
that's why, for years, I have a lot of friends, right?
Yeah.
Friends from different cultures, backgrounds, religions, races, whatever you want to call it. A lot of them don't actually never heard my story. I never talk about my past. It's not that I fear of it. They wouldn't understand and they wouldn't believe it. And there are a few friends that have told, until they met other people in my family, told them similar stories. They're like, oh, wow, shit, this actually really happened.
Yeah.
And people, I know my little sisters definitely had traumatic experiences. One example, we were driving home in a bus, another cab, and something the IDF does, and a lot of Israelis do in the West Bank, they like to bother you. Like, you pick at you, annoy you, do anything to make you uncomfortable.
Like what? Give
For
me an example,
driving on a road, you have a military truck in front of the road going very slow.
Okay.
Causing traffic. And in overseas, you're allowed to kind of cut lanes, right? So my bus driver at the time, which was my cousin, said, all right, we're in a hurry. Let's cut the lane. So they started swerving left and right. They kept telling him, no, no, no. And then he kept trying to do it.
And they knew you were Palestinian.
Well, yeah, it was Palestinian taxi. So
okay.
Even with the license plates, we could get into that as well.
Oh, wow. So you can't even, wow.
So okay, it's interesting because as we were trying to cut over, they started shooting at us. And my little sister was in the front seat.
Jesus.
So as they're shooting at us, he starts
I'm sorry,
swerving.
shooting like with guns?
Yeah, with the AKs that they have? Machine guns, literal rifles. From the back of the truck. And that's everyday thing.
That's common.
They could shoot you for no reason. Like the police situation.
Is this
here in the US.
IDF doing this?
IDF, yes. IDF police us. There are police. They police.
Yeah.
They occupy us. So within every single village, there's checkpoints between them. If you look at the map of the West Bank, the way it's carved out with settlements and roads, so we have separate roads, right? You have highways that only Jews could drive on. I have really shitty roads that Palestinians are only allowed to drive on. Even license plates. You have yellow license plates that are Israeli.
Yeah.
It identifies you as being an Israeli citizen or having Israeli papers.
Yeah.
Palestinians drive with green.
Does Israeli immediately mean Jew?
Not necessarily.
So can you be Israeli and
Arab?
Can you be Israeli Arab or Israeli Muslim?
1/3 of Israel's population are Arab.
But are they treated the way the Palestinians are?
Absolutely. Even though they're Israeli citizens, they still get treated pretty terrible. Yes.
Wow.
I told you. So the problem is, they're not trying to be a secular government. They don't want Palestinians there. That's a fact. I mean, you look at, after 75 years, now it's coming. Thank God to social media, right? Social media has its good and bads, but
yeah, of course.
I think in this part, it's proven to be good to an extent.
Absolutely.
Without the censoring, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like some different driver's license plates. If you're driving green, that means you're Palestinian. You can't drive in certain roads. You can't leave the West Bank. Even to go to Jerusalem, East Jerusalem, which is our territory, which is occupied.
Yeah.
If you don't hold the Jerusalem Hawiyya, you need to apply for a visa to get into Jerusalem when you're already in Palestine.
What the hell?
Isn't that crazy?
How is that? So, okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot. I have notes and I'm looking at the notes.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yeah, but there's so much other shit that I now want to talk about. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
What does the average Palestinian feel about Hamas? The average Palestinian being a teenager, essentially, right?
Yeah, they don't care for Hamas or Fatah, which is the other party.
Fatah is the other party.
Fatah is the think about it like Democrats, Republicans.
Okay,
even though they're still pretty far fetched, but
sure. So which one is is there a conservative and a liberal, or are both of them conservative?
They're both. Hamas is definitely conservative.
They're the conservatives.
Fatah is a little bit of both.
They're more centrist.
They're more centrist. They're more secular. If you look at their original slogan, is and you could Google this, but it's basically saying a free Palestine essentially for all religions, right? Christian,
Okay.
Jews, Muslims, because there is Jewish Palestinians.
Yeah. Oh my God. The most famous of which is Jesus, actually.
Jesus, which was Aramaic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. A Palestinian Jew.
There's Jewish communities in Palestine. There's one north of Nablus called Samaritan, I think they're called.
Yeah.
Samaria. It's one of the oldest Jewish communities with the original Hebrew, oldest language. They consider themselves Palestinian.
I see, and that's the thing. Oh my God.
But then we have to dig into history.
No. Like when the Israeli state was set up, like, how did this all affect you guys? Because everybody was like, oh, okay, they get their state, that's great. Everybody, but they're displacing people.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, that's the way that I see it. Like, and it's something that, I thought about as like a kid, but it didn't. I was like, yeah, but isn't that like, aren't there people there already? Aren't they like, this is so give me the skinny on this.
You mean the slogan that they had was a land without a people for a people without a land? That was an Israel slogan back in the 1940s.
Okay.
This started way before 1940s. This started in 1920s, late 1800s. This is after World War I.
Okay.
Right? They wanted to solve the Jewish problem, which is finding them a homeland where they're safe.
Okay.
So they had options to choose. I think one of them was Madagascar. One of them was Argentina, Cyprus. Okay. But they chose Palestine because of their historical ties to it.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
The quote unquote historical ties, but
yeah,
we could dig deep into that because a lot of people don't understand the historical ties.
Yes, I want to. I
want to make sure I'm not a historian by trait, but I read, I visited, I travel.
Yeah.
My whole life, all I did was read. I loved reading. I loved history. I loved politics, economics, all that.
Sure.
So I think I know a good amount.
Yeah. No. And you lived it.
I lived it, and I've learned it from my elders.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
People, my generation's been there for fucking decades.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, when it comes to getting it from the horse's mouth, you can't get much more than a millennial Palestinian who knows, who had to know, because it's not like, again, this is not a thought experiment for you. Mm-hmm. This is real fucking life. So with that said, when the state of Israel was enacted or set up, what happened to those people?
So the way Palestine was split up was they gave 55% to Jews and 45% to Palestinians. They gave them the most fertile land. Okay. Right. And in areas where it was dominated by Arabs, right? Majority Arab population. So what Israel did was, fun fact before we start this, did you know the IDF was characterized as terrorist organizations in the 1930s by the United Kingdom?
Really?
It was considered a terror group for fighting and killing a lot of UK soldiers. It's all online. You can find all this information out.
Wow.
Is it interesting how the tides turn and now
yeah. How the turntables.
Yeah. So basically they pushed people out. They pushed a lot of that population actually went into Gaza. Yeah. A lot of them, Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Egypt, all around the world. There's Palestinians everywhere. Yeah. There was a lot of massacres. Deir Yassin was a big one. I don't know if you ever heard about that Deir Yassin massacre where they wiped out an entire village.
Jesus, no.
Brutally murdered people. Right.
Wow.
So after Israel was established, my family, so my mom's side, my dad, my grandfather, God rest his soul, ended up moving to Brazil. That's where my mom was born. They were raised until they were about 8, 9, and then they moved back to Palestine. My dad's family was originally, I think they're from East Jerusalem, like East Jerusalem area. I did have a picture that I wanted to share with you next time we get on board. My great-great-grandfather, which was the governor of Jerusalem. Oh, man. So if you ever go to Jerusalem, there's a building. Actually, my dad's very proud of this. You'll see my last name, Dar Alawi, on this building. Nice. It's been in my family generation for years. And Israel's offered them $30 million, $40 million to sell it. They refuse. Good. But the problem is we can't ever fix it because there's rules against it. Oh, yeah. So you can't fix it without a permit, and permit never gets through. And
of course. Dude, that's cool, though. That's really cool.
I respect my parents a lot because, like I said, they've been through a lot. They've moved around a lot by force, and
it sounds like they've been through a lot. And it sounds like everybody who lives there has gone through
every single person, whether you have money or you don't. You've been
as
through
long as so. What if you go? All right, fine. I'll become a Jew.
You can't.
You can't do that?
No, you could convert to Judaism, but again, you're still Palestinian. So you got to understand. I think the way, and I'm like I said, I'm not Jewish, but I think you're born into Judaism through the mother. So that's why the mother, they always want the mother to marry a Jewish person. But You could always convert, but again, you're Palestinian, right? So there's a lot of people that convert and try to take advantage of this whole right to visit, right to live in Israel.
Yeah.
But I think it's really interesting because if you look at the history of Judaism or Jews, there's obviously three groups of Jews.
Sure.
Sephardi's, Ashkenazis, and there's another one.
Ashkenazi.
Sephardi.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, from Spain. The
Europeans.
Yeah. Most of the ones in Israel right now are actually German Jews, Ashkenazi Jews.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You could tell. If you ever go there, you'll notice they're quite light skinned, right?
They're
white.
They're white people. Yeah.
They're white people in Palestine.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of Arab Jews that they brought over from Yemen, from Iraq, from Iran, Persian Jews, from Maghreb, Egypt, Morocco. And they brought them to Israel. They say that Arabs were massacring Jews all around the Middle East after this happened. It was just false.
Yeah.
You call it a conspiracy theory or whatnot, but the actual Israeli government did things to kind of force these Jews to come to Israel, to repopulate Israel, because their birth rate, obviously, they couldn't keep up with the growing population in Palestine.
Yeah. So when it comes to the average Palestinian, does the average Palestinian support a two-state solution?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Really?
Some of them actually even want a one state, a joint state where Jews and Arabs could live together.
Really?
Absolutely. I mean, my dad talks about it all the time. But yeah, we've been wanting our own state forever. Listen, in 1948, when the Arabs declined the offer of the two-state solution, is because it was done without them being in the table. They were backstabbed.
Yeah. Like they were basically we
they have more to lose than to win in the situation.
They basically just took their they blocked off the land without them being at the table to choose.
Imagine this: I walk into your house.
Yeah.
I say, listen, I'm going to give you the garage. I'm taking the rest.
Yeah.
How would you feel?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. No, that 100%. That is literally when I was learning about World War II, and I learned about the Israeli state being set up and all of that.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, but like that. And so like now, but because of everything else that was going on, everybody's like, oh no, but look, the Jews got their own place and it's all good. everything's happy. And then I was like, yeah, but those people, and then it, you kind of just forget about it because
the way it started is actually after World War I, Muslims took in Jews. That's why you see all these Jews in North Africa and the Middle East. Is we took them in as protection. Muslims were sworn.
Yeah.
We're there to help save Christians and Jews. They're our brothers and sisters.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So we were there protecting them, bringing them in. But then there was too many. It started getting more and more, and then they started getting violent and started taking things that weren't theirs. So we said enough is enough. So the whole idea of we're always out to get Jews. We don't hate Jews.
No,
we don't. We're from the Abrahamic
religions,
right? Abrahamic religions. We all come from Abraham's children.
Yeah.
But the funny fact is, there's a famous Jewish historian, and he said, and I have to get his name, but he made this really crazy statement. It's that the original Jews, what if they are the Palestinians? You got to understand, Palestine wasn't. Islam was always there, right? As Islam grew, it Arabized. I say the term Arabized a lot of the Middle East.
Yeah.
Because there's different tribes.
Okay,
different cultures and tribes within the Middle East.
Yep.
So by nature, Islam was written in Arabic. So we adopted the Arabic culture and the Arabic language as we became Muslim. So a lot of these Jews in Palestine converted to Islam.
Interesting.
So they are the same people.
I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, like we're called cousins of each other.
Exactly.
Like
we look a lot like. If you go to Israel, a lot of them look like me.
Yeah, and I mean, look, even Palestine and Lebanon, it's literally a line in the sand, a line in the literal sand.
We are the same people. Before the British and the French broke us apart, they called it Bilad al-Sham, the Levant.
Yeah.
The Levant,
yeah,
right?
the Levant.
Bilad al-Sham, Lebanese, Palestinian, Jordanian, Syrians, we're the same people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
we might have twists and accents, but we are the same people.
Yeah.
We have borders that split us apart.
Exactly.
Simple as that.
A line of dirt.
Exactly.
So because I obviously I was looking through everything, and I like to look at stuff that I like watching people who make good arguments that I disagree with. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I did was look through, go through and find, what does like a list of man on the street segments of people being asked, hey, do you believe the Jews should be like there should be a two-state solution? And Palestinian people going, hell no, because it's our land and stuff like that. And it's like, average ass looking people. These aren't people like, this is like a woman coming out of a grocery store, saying, no, I don't want a two-state solution. And this is a Palestinian woman. So you're like, but wait, but like, what's going on here? So like, that is the minority. Was that what you're saying?
So I'm going to rephrase it this way.
Okay.
A lot of people that don't want to take two-state solutions because they know that it's going to be an unfair two-state solution.
Okay, so they don't feel like the two-state solution is really a two-state solution.
Absolutely.
They believe it's a trap.
Israel's idea of a two-state solution is Palestine just governing themselves, right? No military, no weapons. We don't have airports. All right, they don't even if it was a one-state solution, they don't want us to vote.
So they don't want you guys to be able to defend yourselves.
Exactly.
Yeah,
which is
absurd.
It's absurd, right? But you have to look in this idea of the Greater Israel Project. Like you have to dig deeper and look at what they really ultimately want. But Palestinians want freedom, man. That's all they want. That's all we want.
Yeah,
we just want to be free, be able to go wherever we want, travel wherever, see our families in Jordan or see our families in other countries.
Yeah.
But it's tough. It's a tough life. Like I travel there back and forth from time to time.
When was the last time you were there?
Last year.
Actually,
2022. So
how walk me through like, all right, Rami, we're going over and visiting your homies in Palestine. Let's go.
Oh yeah, you probably wouldn't be able to get in.
Okay.
You probably wouldn't.
I wouldn't be able to get in.
No. So understand this: when you land.
Yeah.
I usually take the Jordan route where I go through Jordan and cross over the border.
Okay.
I decided let me try Tel Aviv this year. Probably the worst decision I ever made.
Wow.
But you have to have numbers of people you're going to see because they're going to call them.
Oh my God.
Call and verify that you're actually coming to visit. My experience that last time was the worst experience I ever had. It was terrible.
What happened?
I went with my parents to surprise them. I showed up at the airport. We flew through Boston. It happened to be an inaugural flight from Boston to Tel Aviv for the first time, so it was not a fun experience. We were like the only Arabs on that plane. And my mom wears a hijab, so as soon as I walk through the gate in Boston, I get randomly selected. It's funny,
of course, man.
Yeah. Like, I have TSA pre-check. I've had it for fucking 10 years now.
Yeah.
It's funny. I got there to think, oh, sir, can we check your bags? I'm like, all right. Looking through my bags, the fellow brown person.
Yeah.
Looking through my bags, frisked me. All right, got on the plane. As soon as I got on the plane, there's just people just looking at you weird, man. It's super disrespectful because they know you're Palestinian, right? And they sat me. It was during COVID, so they sat me in this chair with this Indian guy, and his daughter was sitting in another seat, and he asked me to swap with him. I said, okay, I'll swap. I sat next to this Jewish lady the whole time. She didn't think I was Palestinian. She thought because I look Jewish a lot of times.
Yeah.
So she was talking shit the whole time. So I listened to her, man. I just let it go. I didn't want to cause a scene. And right when we landed, I'm like, it was nice sitting next to you. By the way, I'm Palestinian. I walked off the flight. The moment you walk in the airport, me and my parents, as you put your passport in that machine, it wouldn't go through. So we had to go to one of the agents in the desk. And as my parents are, getting their passports checked, American citizens, they let them go through pretty quick. As soon as I got up, they looked at me like, "Are you with them?" I'm like, "Yeah, this is my parents." I'm like, "All right, come with us." So my mom she got so terrified. Yeah. Because I'm so used to it. So they took my bag. They said, come with us. They wouldn't answer any questions. They're super, obviously, dicks. Mm-hmm. They walked me into this room. It was about this big. It was just seats. I was by myself. I sat there for about an hour. Nobody said anything to me. Nobody talked to me. Every time an agent would come back, it would ask me, are you Rami? You're like, okay, wait here. That happened like 5 times.
Jesus.
They finally take me into the room. They're like, sir, Rami, why are you here? I'm here to visit my grandmother and my family. Okay, why? Where are you going? What city are you visiting?
Oh my God.
I said, well, I'm going into Al-Quds. Al-Quds is Jerusalem.
Okay.
But the fact that I said it in Arabic.
Oh God.
He got so offended. He's like, it's not Quds, it's Jerusalem. So if you don't know how to say it right, get the hell out. So he sat me down. He said, give me your phone. I'm like, I'm not giving you my phone. He's like, give me your cell phone or I'm going to send you back on a plane back to Boston. I'm like, shit, I just made this 14-hour flight. My parents are waiting for me. I'm just going to give him my fucking phone.
Yeah.
Takes my phone. I took off the Wi-Fi cell service. He puts it on. He's like, what's your password? I'm like, I'll put it in for you. He's like, no, well, give me your password. I was like, all right, here's my password. This dude starts going through everything. My pictures, I don't have social media.
Yeah.
I had Instagram at the time. He went through my Instagram, started looking at every picture and wanted to see if I made any political posts or anything anti-Israel. He goes through everything, goes through my contacts. At the time, I was dating my fiance. Now she's Colombian. He's like, oh, what's your fiance? I'm like, she's Hispanic. Is she a drug dealer? Is she a criminal? Has she ever committed crimes?
What the hell?
I'm like, why is that important to you? He's like, answer my questions. And he was just a bitch the whole time. So yeah, back and forth. He's looking through everything. He tells me to leave. I left. I went and sat back again.
This is last year.
This is in 2022. So yeah.
2022. Wow.
Yeah. So I went back and sat in a room, and it's just there's a Turkish guy there. There's two American dudes. I think they were, I don't know what they were doing there, but they were just getting checked as well. So anyways, 3 hours later, they brought me right back into the room again, and same thing, questioning me, same questions. They'll ask you the same questions 3 times to see if you slip. And finally, he happened to look on my LinkedIn. And he saw my job at the time. And after that, he's like, all right, you're good to go.
Oh, God.
I got through security. Now I'm past security. I'm trying to ask for directions to find Avis, the car rental.
Yeah.
And it's just guys, security and guns. It's normal people, Ethiopian Jews, actually. They have a lot of Ethiopian Jews running security.
Okay.
And they're just being dicks. Like, sorry, I can't help you. Please leave. You're causing traffic or you're blockading people, whatever it is. We finally left. Got through that process. It was like 4.5 hours. Worst fucking experience. Finally got in my rental car and drove into the West Bank, which is another experience as well.
Yeah. So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
How, because these guys are, it seems like they're always looking for someone, for a terrorist. They're always looking for a resistance fighter or a terrorist or whatever you want to call them.
No, what they're doing is they're trying to make your life hell so you never come back to visit. That's their ultimate goal.
So their ultimate goal is just, okay, so it's like, okay. It's the sundown town. It's an extreme version of a sundown town.
Exactly. My experience leaving was worse than coming in. So that's 7-hour ordeal. So I got strip searched.
You got strip searched on your way home?
As I'm leaving the West Bank, I have to go through the checkpoints, which is you're crossing over into Israel officially.
Yeah.
As I drove into my rental car, and I do this on purpose. I put my Ray-Bans on. I put hip-hop music. I look as non-Palestinian as possible.
As American as you can.
Exactly. So I pull into the checkpoint. He says something to me in Hebrew, and I don't understand Hebrew. Like I used to, very minimal, but I was like, sorry, I don't understand what you're doing. Biggest mistake. He was telling me you're good, go.
Oh, no.
So he asked me, Palestina? I'm like, yes. Pull over to the side. Bro, he made me wait there 30 minutes, didn't talk to me. 30 minutes in my car.
For no reason.
No reason. He took my passport, my American passport, and he said you could go.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Took your passport and said you could go.
Yeah, he gave it back to me.
They
don't give a shit if you're an American. If you're a Palestinian to them, you're Palestinian.
Wow.
Yeah, I could talk about the moment I went back to Palestine after 10 years of leaving.
Yeah.
First experience when I was a 22-year-old. I was an asshole, right?
Yeah, of course.
This guy, I told him, you know what? I made a comment. I'm like, that gun you have is for my tax money.
Oh, shit.
He took my American passport. I kid you not. Threw it on the ground, stepped on. It's like, I don't give a fuck if you're American. We don't care about you guys. We own you guys. I swear to you, I am not making this shit up.
Wow.
But anyways, on my way back in 2022 in the airport, going in first, to go into the airport, there's huge security. Like, you have to go through huge security. So I pull up my car. Lady pulls up my passport, looks at my name. Obviously, Rami Muhammad Alawi. Sir, go through this line. My God, here we go. I pull up to the security checkpoint. They make me open my hood on my rental car, open the trunk. They said, leave your phone in the car. I'm like, fuck that. Put it in my pocket. They made me open everything. They searched the car for bombs, dog sniff, whatever it is. They made me go into a room. They looked at all my bags, opened everything up, made me go through a metal detector. Then they sat me down for like another 30 minutes for no reason. I'm asking them, hey, can I go? Are we good? They're like, we'll call you when we're ready. And they're just sitting there doing nothing. It's like 6 soldiers.
Just chilling.
They want to elongate your process.
Yeah.
Anyways, I finished that. I go return the rental car, get in a bus to the airport. I got there 3 hours early, and I did that on purpose because I already knew I was going to go through a lot of checks.
Yeah.
So as Delta finally opened up their checking process, I get to the counter, and the lady's like, "Are you checking any bags?" And I'm like, "Just this one." She's like, "Are you want to check in your carry-on?" And she looked at me. She's like, "Check in your carry-on." She was an American agent. She was kind of hinting at me, it's better off if you check it in so they don't harass you. I checked it in. I get my ticket. Now I go through a main security, their TSA. And it was an Ethiopian Jew. So I figured, oh, sweet. You know, she's part, because, you know, they're treated differently too there.
Oh, Ethiopian Jews?
Black Ethiopian Jews, yeah. They're treated differently by other Jews.
Very
racist.
Where are they in the totem pole?
They're like right above us.
Okay.
Like they're below the Israeli Jews, the white Jews, but they're like right above us. They're very racist in Israel. Like if you're a black Jew, they're very racist towards you. Anyways, I figured like, okay, she's going to let me through.
Yeah.
You got to go through this line. I'm like, son of a bitch. So I get to that one line. They go through my backpack. They start swabbing you know when they swab you in the U.S.?
Yeah.
They swabbed every single inch of my bag. I pull out these iPods. And the guy was like, what is this? He's like, it's headphones. Like, what is it? It's headphones. You listen to music. He's like, So he put it through a machine. He's checking it. He's
never seen headphones before?
I'm telling you, it baffled the hell out of me. So this is like 10, 20 minutes into it. They're like, okay, now we got to search you. Ironically, their machine wasn't working. The little radar machine.
Yeah.
It wasn't working on my turn. I said, okay, you need to go. They put me in this little black box with curtains.
Yeah.
The guy walks in. He's like, you need to strip. You take out your clothes. I'm like, I'm not taking off my clothes. He's like, you need to take your clothes off now. So I took off everything except my boxers. I refused.
Yeah.
After, I kid you not, after I did all that, they said, okay, go. They didn't even check me. They legitimately just made me take off my clothes, put it back on, and then go sit. That took an hour and a half. That whole process, just the first part of the security.
Okay, when I go to the airport here, I get there 2.5, 3 hours before.
If you're Palestinian, show up 3 to 5 hours early.
Wow.
Because this is through Tel Aviv, though.
Yeah.
So anyways, as I finally finished that part, now I go through that part where you take a picture of you and it opens up glass doors.
Yeah.
Mine hit the red X. I'm like, son of a bitch.
No.
Here we go. Made me go to a counter. They're asking me, so what were you here for? They start listing names of people.
Oh, God.
Right? Do you know this guy's name? Do you know this guy's name? I'm like, fuck I know these people's names. I'm like, oh, God. So I was like, no, sir, I don't know them. All right, go sit down. So they make me sit down.
Oh, my God.
Then this soldier, high-ranking soldier walks out. He's like, Rami Alawi, come here. I go into this room. It's like glass. So they go through my passport and asking me, hey, have you been to any other countries in the Middle East? I'm like, no, I think just Jordan in 2016. He's like, do you think or do you not know? I'm like, no, I've been to Jordan. He's like, okay, go sit down.
This sounds...
10 minutes later, come back in. Have you ever committed crimes in America? Are you a criminal? Have you ever been arrested? Ticket violations. I'm like, why does this matter to you if it's in the U.S.? He's like, and I'm giving him an attitude back at this point.
Of course,
I was fed up. He's like, okay, go sit down. The third time he comes back in, he's like, okay, you're good to go. So I go through. I finally made it through. This has now been 5 hours.
Jesus.
I haven't even made it to the gate.
Oh my God.
So I finally make it to the gate area. And I went to the Delta agent, which was Israeli agent at the time. And she couldn't find my ticket. My seat. All of a sudden. I was like, ma'am, it's in my phone. It's right here. Oh, I can't find it. Go sit down. People are boarding. I called Delta.
Oh my God.
And Delta, if you hear me, fuck you. I called Delta. I'm like, I'm having an issue. I can't get on the flight. They say they can't find my flight. They can't find this and that. What do I do? It's like, all right, we'll call the agent now. After the whole ordeal, the lady upgraded me to first class on the phone.
Nice.
So I was excited, man.
Hell yeah.
They finally let me on the plane, and the agents on the plane, bro, they were Israeli Delta travel agents, or what do you call those girls? I forgot.
Stewardess.
She was just a bitch to me, man.
Yeah.
Who's this Palestinian kid sitting in first class? Like every time I'd go to the bathroom, they just keep their eyes on me.
What
it
the
just
hell,
felt so
dude?
uncomfortable. And I finally landed in JFK. I was like, oh, excited, I'm back home, bro. And again, at JFK, I get randomly searched. And by the way, I get random selected in America all the time.
Oh yeah, no. The last 3 times I have not gotten randomly selected.
Yeah.
Every time before that, randomly selected.
And I tell my friends and my coworkers when I travel with them, they're like, "Oh, you're making it up," and they see it.
Dude, yeah.
They're like, they start laughing. I'm like, bro, I get the worst for me is Germany. Germany and Australia.
Really?
Bro, Germany harasses the hell out of me.
Really?
Fucking assholes. They started this mess in the first place.
Dude, yeah. Motherfucker started this mess in the first place.
But yeah, man, that's daily. I mean,
bro,
every time I travel there, it's
this
tough.
sounds like a nightmare.
It's
like
a nightmare,
everything that
bro.
you've told me.
It's so expensive too.
And so let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You have I know many people. Everybody here in America knows somebody that's in the military. How often do you know somebody that is in a resistance group, terrorist group, whatever you want to call it?
It's often, I mean, the word resistance is really anybody that's fighting for their freedom. Whether you call them Hamas or you call them whatever other words you want to call them.
Is that what people generally in Palestine see Hamas as?
I'm not gonna say majority, but some people do. Yeah.
Okay. What
honest.
percentage of people, like, is it like the MAGA people? Because the MAGA people aren't exactly all. There's not a lot of them, but they're like, it's enough that they're loud enough. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's, I guess, you know, it's they have an active crowd. Is it the same thing that Hamas is like? They just have an active base that's a minority.
I would say so. I think it's dwindled down a bit. Obviously, generational differences, right?
Sure.
But you got to understand, Palestinians don't really care for Hamas or Fatah.
Yeah.
The other group, because listen, the Palestinian Authority is worse.
This sounds.
I would say even worse than the Israeli government.
This sounds like the same thing. It's like America, but more extreme.
Yeah, I mean, current Palestinian government, not all of them, but majority of them are thieves.
Yeah.
You know, they take aid to keep the hoard for themselves. They build these mansions, these castles.
Yeah.
And they work with Israel sometimes, man. They arrest people for political activism.
Yeah.
Right. I know I've had a cousin, you know.
Yeah.
He was arrested for politically saying things on Facebook.
Really?
Absolutely.
Oh,
for just being against the Fatah government.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So it's that freedom of speech that people here
Wait, for being against the centrist government?
Mm-hmm.
So the centrist government is even...
the Palestinian Authority is sometimes worse than the Israeli government.
Wow. Dude.
Absolutely. Listen, people will openly say it. I mean, I might. Hopefully nobody sees it if I'm trying to visit next time when I'm going to see my grandmother. But yeah, here's the thing with Palestinian. I'm going to say it the Arabic way because the letter P is not in Arabic. So
Yeah.
The Palestinian, we're fucked on multiple sides, right? You have the international community doesn't really see us for what we've experienced and who we are as people, because we are animals to people. Yeah. The Israeli government, and then internally with the Palestinian government. So either way, we're always on the losing side. I mean, we're good people. Yeah. Right? We are genuinely good people. Yeah. But I think for decades, like 75 years, when people dehumanize you and make you seem like you're just like an animal, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You'll hear this more and more often when people call us animals. It's true because they see us as non-humans.
Yeah, no, I agree with that's
disregard for human life. It doesn't matter what you believe in, but if I see somebody in trouble, I want to help them. Yeah, it's a human thing to do. Yeah, we are not humans to a lot of people in the world, and it's slowly changing, which makes me happy. Yeah, to see that at least in my generation, where people see us for who we are as real people. Yeah, we're very smart, very educated. We have an eager sense of wanting to be successful and wanting to have a happy life.
And the thing is that, like I said in the beginning of the show, the destruction of historical artifacts, the destruction of the people,
cultural appropriation,
that all of that stuff is just part of the dehumanization, is part of the genocide. Let's call it what the fuck it is, man. And it's I'm glad that I'm able to sit down with you and talk more about this, because honestly, I almost feel in a lot of ways like this is selfishly therapeutic for me, because growing up in evangelical Christianity, I recognize the damage that my voice caused, 15, 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. And it's almost me feeling like I'm trying to undo that. Yeah. When we sat down and started talking about all of this, and, words like Hamas are being used not in a condemning way, like, I recognize why that's not the case. But the back of my mind is like, yeah, but Hamas is bad, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah, but it kind of reminds me of it doesn't. I guess the way it didn't come out of it didn't fall out of the sky. Hamas didn't fall out of the sky.
Do you know the history of Hamas and how it started?
No, but so I could probably guess it. But go ahead.
Well, Hamas is an acronym. So it means Harakat al-Muqawwama al-Islamiyya, which means resistance fighters, right? Islamic resistance fighters. Okay. It had a different name before that when they were in Gaza, but they were funded by Israeli government, by Netanyahu
Yeah.
and his government to cause divide within the Palestinian society.
That's why Netanyahu wanted to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they were literally funded with cash. They would
Yeah.
load up these cars, smuggle them into Gaza, and fund them with cash to keep Palestinian Authority divided.
So like the people that were receiving the cash, Hamas,
Yeah.
they were receiving it directly from the Israeli government.
Israeli government, and you could say other forms, like Saudi
Like-
for sure,
like who?
Iran for sure, Saudi Arabia for sure. And Iran.
Okay,
So a lot of people fund it. It's the art of war, man.
So okay, so what is the benefit for Saudi Arabia to fund Hamas?
Instability. I think it's more Iran that does it, but there's so
Okay.
much beef between
so
all these
it's-
countries. But
so they just want to throw fuel in the fire.
yeah, we're pawns.
Okay,
On a chessboard. We're
got
pawns,
it. Got it.
essentially.
That makes sense. Okay. Wow, dude, there's so much. There's just so much.
It's a lot.
At the risk of saying something like the Palestinian people are a monolith, what do you like? What does the average Palestinian want? Like, how would the average Palestinian want to resolve this? Like, first of all, what is the average Palestinian going through right now that you know of?
In where it depends. So
In
West Bank and Gaza are very different.
Okay,
Either way, they're-
can you give us the differences?
Yeah. So Gaza, which is that small plot of land, we
Yep.
have about 2.3 million
Yep.
Palestinians, and people say, "Well, how did the population grow so fast? It doesn't seem like Israel's killing them off." You got to understand, Gaza was only 700,000 people,
Yeah.
right around that, and the millions that moved in are from Haifa and Tel Aviv, and Yafa and Akka and Galil. So the whole part of Israel, which was occupied
Yeah.
or taken from Palestinians, were pushed into Gaza. So that's why the population.
So the population didn't grow because people were fucking.
No, it was
They-
because people were pushed into Gaza.
Pushed into because
Yeah.
people have been just shuffled around.
Yeah.
It seems like the entire time.
Exactly, and Gaza had actually settlements there.
Okay.
Pre 2005, there's Israeli settlements which they always took the best plot of land by the water,
Of course,
most
yeah.
fertile, and it got so bad. This is when the Intifada happened, and this was
Very white of them.
the second Intifada. They had the uprising. People had enough.
Yeah.
Like it was just they were tired of living as second-class citizens, right?
Yeah.
So they started fighting, throwing rocks, fighting with the settlers and the Israeli, defense forces.
Yep.
And Israel decided to say, "Fuck it, let's pull out."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So they pulled out, and people around the world say, "Well, they pulled out. They gave them the freedom." No, they didn't. They built a wall around the entire Gaza,
Yep.
and it's basically a prison. You always hear open air prison.
It's an open air
It is
prison.
what it is. It's open air prison.
Yeah.
And I look at them as concentration camps, to be honest with you.
Yeah. That's what it seems like.
Yeah, think about like even the water, because it's a beach. It's the only part of Palestine which has the ocean, but you're not allowed to go 5 nautical miles beyond that point. You can't fish. You
Really?
can't- yeah, it's completely blockaded by Egypt on the south,
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
by Israel in the north, in the east, and in the water.
So yeah. No. Yeah. You're
Yeah.
stuck.
And then people have heard these comments a lot by certain people.
Yeah.
Well, Israel doesn't have to give them water or power. Like we're helping. They're saying Israel's helping Gaza by giving them power and water and utilities. I'm like, you understand how the grids or anything works, right?
Yeah.
We're not allowed to produce our own power. There's multiple times where humanitarian groups from like Europe or US or other countries came and built solar panels for Gaza, and Israel would come and blow them up, destroy them.
So it's
So imagine where your food coming in and out is controlled, your power is controlled,
Yeah.
your water is controlled. How do you live?
Yeah.
And this has come out recently where Israel government calculated by calorie count what is necessary for Palestinians just to barely survive, and that's how they would allow amount of food into Gaza.
holy shit.
Exactly. And then my experience in the West Bank, living there, one thing you'll notice is a lot of houses have like these metal tins or rubber tins above each house that store water. So our water supply is controlled by Israel. So
Wait, hold on a second. Is this like the average person in?
This is every single household in Palestine. Every single person is water and power is controlled by Israeli government. So imagine this, where they cut water off you get water twice a month sometimes only. So there's times where we had 3 weeks without water. We would all share, like we would take showers in my aunt's house all together. Not together, but like take turns, very minimal amount.
Yeah.
We had a well, so we'd actually have water in the well where we boil the water just to cook with it and drink it. It's a true story. Yeah. So water is 100% controlled by them. They could cut off at any point.
This is like right now, like
this is
when you were
since it was founded. This is for the past 70 fucking years.
And in 2022,
bro.
when you were
like
there,
this. Oh, it's still like
this shit is happening.
It's still like this.
Wow.
Like it baffles me that we're in a generation, we're in an era where we've learned from the Holocaust. People have experienced it, and say never again, never again. And with modern day technology and fucking social media,
it was a how-to book.
This is still happening, and people turn a blind eye.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And imagine this before social media, when the stories weren't out there, what we've experienced, right? And this is not long ago.
It's again, everything that you're telling me is a more extreme version of what I see in the U.S. What happened before camera phones? You know, no, it's not that like a lot more black people are being shot by unarmed black people by cops. No, it's just now we have the footage.
What?
And in Palestine, it's not that it's now happening. This has been happening. Like the stuff that you're telling me, like, and I can see it. And God bless you for having the patience that you do, because you've probably had to tell this story a million times to people and try to convince them only so they could call you crazy.
Yeah.
And then go like, I understand. I can, like, you have the patience of an angel for dealing with that shit, because I'd have been flipping tables 10 years ago.
Imagine like. Not even that, you're surveilled constantly. There's surveillance cameras everywhere.
Oh my God.
And they started recently implementing automatic guns on top of the border wall. You ever seen a border wall?
Automatic guns?
Guns, yes. So now they could facially recognize a terrorist and they could shoot him on sight. So have you ever seen the border wall?
No. Hold on, let's pull it up. Hold on. I'll pull it up right now.
It is insane.
Let's
Yeah.
Yeah, so explain what we're gonna go look up.
Let's pull up the border wall. It basically wraps around the entire West Bank, but it cuts through villages, it cuts through farms, it divides whole communities. So imagine this as a farmer, you live in this village, but your olive grove is on the other side of the wall. So you have to apply for a permit to get to your own farmland.
All right, so let's pull it up here. Let's see which one.
So yes, that right there.
So this one right here.
So that cuts through the entire West Bank. It divides communities, divides families from each other. It's so annoying, and you just see that every single day. Now you notice. There's some pictures where you'll see some really nice highways, and then you'll see a fence and like really shitty roads. Now tell me that's not apartheid,
dude. That is insane.
Yeah, and that's very high. I mean, there's a really good movie on Netflix. It's called Omar.
What is it called?
Omar.
It's
okay. Really, really good. It's a really good short film.
Dude,
it kind of breaks down like what's it like to live there with that wall and how people climb over it. Like it's about a guy that fell in love with a girl, but she lives in another side of the wall, and what he has to go through every day to see her.
So how far from that wall did you live? Did you grow up?
It's all around. I mean, I grew up like minutes from there.
Minutes from.
So you could all walk over the West Bank. Yeah.
Okay. Wow, dude.
So for me to get to Ramallah from my village, we had to pass two big settlements. One's called Ofra, and one's called Bet Il. Those are some of the biggest settlements in the West Bank.
Wow.
I mean, you have to pass under a bridge where the highway cuts through, and you have to pass through military checkpoints just to get through to the city.
So what is like I guess there's so many fucking questions, man, because like let's talk about Hamas a little bit.
Yeah.
How old is the average Hamas dude? Like the Hamas fighter, because is it fair to say that Hamas is also a political party?
I would say they are in Gaza, but I don't categorize them as a political party.
Okay.
They did win they got the majority vote.
Sure.
Okay, it happens. Imagine when your own government does not help you, the world does not help you, but they have this resistance group as the only group helping you. Who are you going to vote?
It's Dude, there are so many parallels. This is like when poor people are voting for Donald Trump.
Yes, that's a perfect example.
Yeah, they vote for Donald Trump because they're like, oh well, he knows what it's like to be the average guy, even though this motherfucker lives in New York and would never let you live in one of his buildings. But he pretends to be that. In Hamas's case, and correct me if I'm wrong, they're doing the same thing, except for they're actually turning up the religious thing so that it's more justifiable. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're more radicalized in a bit. A lot of people use religion sometimes for their own benefit.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we use that here in Christianity.
It doesn't stand for Islam. Islam is very simple, and I think it's the most misunderstood religion in terms of other people.
Sure, yeah.
From what they've learned or what they were shown.
Yeah,
right?
well, I definitely, and I want to touch a little bit on that too.
Yeah.
But we're gonna do an entire show just on Islam and like the misconceptions and stuff like that. I feel like, and this is just me speaking as an Americanized brown guy. I feel like there is, at least in the media, more examples of radicalized Islamic groups than radicalized Christian groups, depending on how you defined a radicalized Christian group, obviously.
I mean, the KKK was
the Klan
group, right?
is definitely, but they're not as successful right now. Now they're kind of like,
to what we know.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean?
Well, and the also the other side to that is that there is more white supremacy terrorist acts than any other type of act.
Well, here's the thing. They automatically associate our religion with terrorism because those terrorists happen to be Muslim. Most white supremacists tend to be Christian, I guess. I would say that. But you don't categorize them as Christian terrorists.
Yeah, no,
that's the whole agenda behind demonizing Islam.
Exactly. No, absolutely. I'm with you
but
there.
To get back to your question on the population age, so you got to understand, I think I would say 80-90% of the people in Gaza never voted for Hamas. They're young.
Yeah.
Hamas was voted back in 2005?
2005, yeah.
Yeah,
so
a lot of these kids...
They were babies.
And they're babies of parents that were killed.
Yeah.
So they were raised by, these people killed my family, my parents.
Yeah.
They don't allow me to do anything. I can't live a basic life. I'm stuck behind this ridiculous wall.
And you have this.
At one point, what do you expect them to? I'm not
you're not condoning Hamas, but
I don't like
it doesn't
Hamas.
come out. But it doesn't come out of the sky.
Yeah, I could care. I could care less for that group. Fuck them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But fuck that too. Fuck them too.
Yeah.
But people also use that word jihad a lot.
Explain that.
He's bringing jihad.
Yeah,
Jihad means literally the struggle.
Yeah,
it's to fight against the struggle. It means nothing else. It's nothing associated with terrorism. It's like if somebody's beating you up or hitting you constantly, you're gonna become jihad in the sense that you're fighting against somebody's fucking oppressing you.
Of course.
And that's all it means. It's like also Sharia law, like that word Sharia.
Sharia. The Christians here, I love the fact that like they bitch about Sharia law,
but they're living
but
it
then
every day.
they want a biblical constitution.
Well, they don't understand that they're currently living in Sharia law. American Constitution, a lot of it was solely based on Prophet Muhammad's Islamic teachings. He is recognized as one of the best lawmakers in history. At one point, the U.S. government had a statue of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, but obviously they took it down because we're not allowed to idolize prophets or anybody with statues or pictures or anything.
Really?
Yeah.
So is that okay? So explain to me this because this is going to be again.
So
go ahead.
I'll give you one perfect example.
Please.
Divorce.
Okay. Yeah.
So understand that Catholicism, there's no divorce in Catholicism.
There is no divorce. No.
So back in the day in Spain, when women and men, so obviously the marriage wasn't working, so they used Sharia law because Islam had the best way of settling divorces for men and women.
Yeah.
Hence, you know how women get 50% of everything? That came from Islam.
Really?
100%. When people say that Islam dehumanizes women or brings women below men, that's false. It's the reason women have certain rights as divorcee, basically getting 50% of his wealth, and also alimony and whatnot, that came from Sharia law, Islam. So when Americans say, "Oh, I'm anti-Sharia law," bro, you're living in Sharia law.
It
A
just
lot of the
sounds-
laws written are based off Sharia law, divorce, land, taxation, certain things like that.
Sure.
Came from Islamic law. We influence a lot of things in the world.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, look,
Hygiene.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, look, there's a lot of even in language. I think we talked about this. The amount of the number of words
In Spanish.
in Spanish that are basically birthed from Arabic.
Yeah.
Almohada, pillow.
Camis.
Yeah.
Camis, pantalon, rose,
yeah.
sukkar, banyo.
Exactly. So, like, the bottom line is that, like, there's so many parallels to what's going on in the Middle East here
Yeah.
that I like that we're putting together those parallels, because at the end of the day, everybody just wants the same thing.
Hope, freedom.
They want hope. They want to be able to live their life. They want to be able to marry, have children, not marry, not have children.
Yep.
Live a happy life, whatever that means for them. And sadly, religion has been used as a tool to divide us.
Yep.
Again, recovering evangelical, now basically my tattoo artist and one of my closest friends, his name is Bear over at Imperial Class Tattoo. Shout out Imperial Class Tattoo. He calls where I believe that I am right now, agnatheist.
Agnatheist. Okay.
Yeah, because I don't know. There are days when, like, I really feel the connection with my Christian background. But then, like, most days, I look at the people that are, flying that Christian flag, and I'm like, no, I'm not those guys. Like, I've never felt less associated with something that I grew up with. And the more I learn about the struggle that like the Palestinians have had, and like that I had here, in a much smaller degree here, it's like, oh, that's what happens when shit goes really fucking bad. Like, what happens when shit goes really bad is Palestine.
Yeah.
This is like in the I was just watching Hot Ones, one of my favorite shows on YouTube, where it's an interview show where dude eats progressively hotter wings.
Yes.
And they just had John Oliver on there, and
I like John Oliver.
yeah, I love John Oliver. He's so good. And this is like the first wing in Hot Ones. That's what American brown people a lot of times are dealing with comparison to The Last Dab in your case.
Yeah.
Which is at the end of this is the hottest wing you could, like, Palestine is the hottest wing.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm going to call this episode. Palestine is the hottest
I like
wing.
that. So the conflict has nothing to do with religion. They want you to think it's nothing to do with religion.
And you know what? And that's the same thing here.
Yeah.
It's the same fucking thing here.
Yeah.
They tie and send, and this happened since right before Reagan, where they tied evangelicals and conservatives into one party. And all they did was tie in that pro-life bullshit.
Yeah.
And that's how they did it, because before the 1970s, Christian evangelicals and Protestants and Catholics, they were mostly Democrats, and they one of these political dorks that puts together campaigns decided that he was going to use the people and galvanize the evangelicals and the Catholics under one thing, which is, to be fair, the Catholics were always pro-life, but the Protestants were basically pro-choice, and they used that wedge to galvanize these people, and it's infuriating. So it sounds to me like Hamas is doing the same fucking thing. It's just that They're doing it with brown people in less effective methods.
Yeah.
We have capitalism and the most powerful military on the face of the fucking planet.
Yeah.
So ours is going to look a little bit more polished than Hamas.
Yeah.
Because Hamas doesn't actually have a state. We have 53% of our fucking money that we know of going toward the DOD. So yeah.
And that's the problem with Hamas. They knew what they were doing. They put entire population at risk for the shit that they pulled, right?
Yeah.
I think that's fucked up. It's wrong because you put 2.3 million people at risk. Like, you knew this was going to happen.
Yeah.
Fun fact.
Yeah.
When I woke up to what happened, you're talking
about October 7th?
Yeah, I never felt the way I felt. I felt so weird and empty. Mind you, I was supposed to fly to Palestine 3 weeks later.
Oh, Jesus.
To see my parents that were there.
Yeah.
And this happened, obviously, I was like, well, I'm not going to Palestine anymore.
Yeah.
But I felt uncomfortable and weird, and I knew something was wrong because I knew that this is going to be the worst outcome since 1948.
Sure.
Like, I knew this is going to be so bad that it's going to change everything.
Yeah.
And it was worse. Like, this is bad.
This is worse than you expected in October 7th.
This is worse than the first Nakba.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, right, what's the death toll at now? 26,000?
I'll check.
Yeah, it's about 26,000.
Keep
Half of them are kids. And you know what upsets me a lot is that I know we always point out women and kids, but what about the men? Like, we forget about the men, the ones that are there protecting the kids and women, and they're just looked at like nothing. Like, oh, they're just men. You know what I mean?
I think that. I think that there's a good reason for that, and I think the reason is the fact that as men, number one, we as men, let's face it, a lot of the problems were started by us.
Absolutely.
So like. I can't think of too many women leaders that are like, yeah, let's just bomb some shit. Like, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It's dudes trying to have a dick measuring contest. Baby Netanyahu, that's fucking he's a piece of shit who wants to keep power. He's a power hungry prick, and that's and how many power hungry pricks do we know that are women?
And that's funny. How this war escalated to where it's gotten now is also for him to keep his power, because honestly, people are always
that's exactly what it is. Yeah,
but. Like I said, when this happened, I don't know. I went into a very deep, depressive state I've not experienced in my life. 26,000.
The Gaza Strip has risen to 26,751.
And that's just what they could find.
Yeah, 65,636 others wounded since October 7th.
I wouldn't be surprised if the death toll's at 40, realistically, without the bodies that haven't been found now.
Yeah, for sure.
But
and again, this is coming from somebody who has gone through it. You are somebody who is actually experiencing. You've experienced this.
Yeah.
This is not an exercise in. This is not your exercise.
Yeah.
This is. I have lived this, and the problem is that we don't see it, and we don't see it, and it's by design. We don't see it because we have so many other distractions.
Yeah.
In Palestine, you don't have that luxury.
No.
The fact that we have this, all these mechanisms in place to, hey, Taylor Swift, hey, this, hey, that. And arguably, I guess I'm part of the problem working in entertainment.
We all are.
But at the same time, like there are mechanisms in place specifically to distract you from this.
Yeah.
Like coming up in broadcasting, I used to hate the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, because of the fact that they censor. I am not a fan of censorship. Now the censorship is becoming more precise and more precision, and that's scary.
Yes, targeting certain people.
Yeah, targeting certain people, and that's why, dude. Can you explain to the audience the watermelon situation?
That one's interesting. I love this story. So,
let's
people don't realize that it's actually illegal to hold the Palestinian flag under Israeli law.
Still today.
Oh yeah, actually,
I thought this was something that before that was
no. This happened like. I'm not sure when it happened, maybe a few years ago, but yeah, essentially they don't let you hold the Palestinian flag. They always tear it down. They'll violate you essentially if you're holding the Palestinian flag, because then Palestine doesn't exist.
Sure.
Palestinians are not a real thing in their mind.
Yeah.
You can't even say the word Palestine.
Wow.
So as flags were getting banned, people started cutting up watermelons. You realize, oh shit, the color of the watermelon is a Palestinian flag.
I love that.
And I actually have a shirt that I got from We Are the Peace. Shout out to them, great brand.
Yeah.
And I have the shirt. It's a watermelon, and it's just a funny way of saying "fuck you." I'm still going to symbolize who I am, and you can't say anything about it. It's a watermelon.
I love it. I love it. Oh,
It resembles the Palestinian fucking struggle.
Dude, you
man.
can't get more punk rock than the Palestinian people.
Oh, we're wild.
Like I love that shit.
They're so brave, man.
That makes my heart warm.
I used to be not ashamed. I was scared to admit I was Palestinian when I moved back to the States.
Yeah.
I always told people I was Brazilian because my mom was born in Brazil, but she's Palestinian.
Sure.
It was a way for me to blend in and hide, show myself as a Hispanic, and just take away any light on me, right?
Yeah.
And as I got older, I realized, fuck, man, I should be proud.
Yeah.
Like my people, and this is it's not like being biased or just being cocky. It's just like, God damn, they're brave, man.
Yeah.
They're so brave. I respect them a lot for what they deal with. Like sometimes I feel guilty that I'm here in the States and my family's over there.
Survivor's guilt, dude.
Yeah. And it sucks every time I go back. It's the only place on earth I could say this that I feel at home. I feel like I could shut the entire outside world out and I'll be fine.
Really?
I feel at peace when I'm there.
At peace when you're there.
Even though we're living in a war.
That speaks volumes about how cool that area is.
People are just awesome.
And that's why it breaks my heart, dude. The fact that I have to look at a war schedule before I could go visit where my grandparents it's infuriating, dude. There is so much so much I want to go see there, especially when people talk about the West Bank and Gaza, and it's just
the history. If you're a history buff, it's an amazing place, and the food is amazing. Yeah, and for all the vegetarians out there, our diet is 80% vegan.
It's 80%. Yeah,
it's insane, but it tastes so damn good.
Yeah.
Well, of course, now they call it Israeli food, which is crazy, but you know, that's another topic.
Dude. That's got to be I don't have that. Well, number one, coming from Lebanon is a completely different story, but that level of I'm not used to that level of animosity towards the Israeli, not people, the Israeli government, because that's, again, we go back to there are parallels. There's Israeli people that are looking at the shit that the Palestinians are going through and going, this is fucking bullshit. There are more and more of that. There's more and more of that happening every day. So that to me is at least here, it's comforting.
You know what's wild is that, imagine this. They are so close to each other. It's like living, say you're in downtown Orlando, Winter Park. They're very close. It's like people living in these areas. There's a giant wall separating them. They literally have no idea what's going on in the West Bank. They have no idea. They're just taught certain things in school that these people are evil. They're terrorists. They're not animals. They're just out to kill you.
And they are literally a bike ride away.
A walk away.
Wow.
That's how close we are. And as the world sheds light on what's really happening, Israelis are starting to open up. Younger generations, and starting to see what's really going on the other side, and it's changing the narrative. Yeah, and it just sucks, man. You're literally a foot away, and it's completely different worlds. You're talking about suburbs, green pastures, wealth, and safety to an extent, and freedom. You cross the wall, it's a different world. So it's the ghetto. Yeah. But it's a ghetto that you can't explain. It's not the ghettos in the U.S. This is just poverty.
So are there rich Palestinian Muslims?
There's absolutely there's wealth in Palestine. Okay. The problem why we haven't flourished is because the economic restraints on us. Right.
How do the really really rich there's got to be a Palestinian Muslim that is being harassed by the IDF, going, dude, I make 100,000 times what you make.
Makes doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It does not matter. Money does not talk if you're an Arab over there.
Wow.
It doesn't matter who the hell you are. You could be a popular American entertainer, an athlete. If you're Palestinian, you go there.
Khaled.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah, fuck that. Fuck DJ Khaled.
They don't give a shit.
But if DJ Khaled showed up,
they won't care. Unless he fits in with their narrative.
Okay, yeah.
Unless he supports their agenda.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Right?
yeah. So he's got to be a celebrity that also supports the agenda.
Absolutely, yeah. If
Are there traders like that?
there's probably absolutely there's traders on both sides.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really know DJ Khaled. I mean, I know his family's from a village near mine.
Yeah.
I think Mizra'a, and he's originally from Dr. Phillips area.
Yeah, he's a Dr. Phillips kid.
But
His
he's
family,
been bought.
His family owned a shop in the mall, in the Florida Mall.
Yeah, I mean, I have nothing against the guy.
Yeah,
Money's money. I mean, he's.
I have.
You got to understand, he's the most famous DJ in the world,
Yeah, I
right?
know.
And he's Palestinian.
I know.
The only other famous person in Palestine is Jesus.
Jesus, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he said nothing.
That's what pisses me
You know what I mean?
off.
And he's too worried about losing his sponsorships.
Yeah.
Or God knows whoever bought him off.
Yeah. Well, that's my problem, and that's we were talking about about different performers and stuff that we follow, and I was talking about Disaster, who's from Lebanon.
Yeah,
who's
Disaster,
a
yeah.
battle rapper, and he's like chomping at the bit to battle this Israeli cat who's been ducking him and stuff like that, and he has been so incredibly outspoken about this that honestly, like, it inspired me, because I was like, shit, man, this is something that like needs to be talked about. It's one of the people that like, you know, even with the small voice that I have, I would be doing my heritage, my people, like, and the people of Palestine a disservice if I didn't just try.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and what better way to cut through all the bullshit than bringing somebody that is around my age, that lived that shit, and is able to talk about it with authority. Because it's one thing for me, I've lived here. I haven't been to Lebanon. I don't speak Arabic. I wish I did. I'm actually going to download Duolingo now and start.
I'll teach you.
Yeah. I'm immersive. Like, I need to be immersive. That's how I learned English.
That's the only way to learn.
Yeah.
The one thing I'm going to touch back on what you just said.
Yeah.
So in Islam, we say something like this, and I'm going to misquote it, right? But it's basically God judges you for your intentions, not your outcomes. Right?
Yeah.
So it's your
the thought
intent.
that counts.
It's the thought that counts. You're trying, whether the outcomes come out as good or bad, but you tried.
Yeah.
One little voice might change everything.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Instagram. All these people now talking about Palestine that have no ties to Palestine, and it's become a domino effect.
Exactly.
Look at the rapper, The Game.
Yeah.
He's been the most vocal on social media.
Has he? Good.
So vocal.
Good.
And he has no ties to Palestine, but you know, you got to recognize real. If somebody's being oppressed, you have to speak up.
Yeah, because
it doesn't matter who they are.
If it's you next, when I heard about Lebanon being bombed, I'm like, well,
oh yeah,
it's getting closer.
Lebanon, Syria,
yeah, like,
I mean, it's everywhere, man.
So ultimately, like, that's what I want. I want to be able to shed more light on this. We're gonna do this again in a couple of weeks under Irreverent, because I want to talk more about the religious side of this. Yeah. But closing out the more political lifestyle every day, what would you want the average American that is going to vote, that is, you know, the normie that's going to vote, the person that's like too busy to dig through all the minutia, like, what do you want them to, what would be the one thing that you want them to know?
I would say for them is whoever decides to run, look at their current state, look what they've done in the past, and look what they have not done now, right?
Yep.
And base it off that. Do your own research. I'm not saying Google. I mean, talk to people.
Yeah.
Go to libraries, pick up books, find somebody that's from the area, talk to them. Just understand what they're going through, and vote based on who could bring back humanity, I guess you could say, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing, is just nothing against Biden, but I just think he's not the right person.
Oh,
but unfortunately, the people running against him are also
old.
not the right people.
Yeah.
So it's the whole...
It's the Hamas again.
Exactly.
It's the same.
Choose the lesser of two evils.
Yeah, it's the lesser of two evils.
And I guess we'll see what happens. But
I think that, number one, yes, you're correct. I believe that's, you know, I think that there is... In order for Biden to have a chance, he's going to need he's going to need to speak up about a ceasefire. And a ceasefire, by the way, I would say, would you say most of Palestine is in favor of a ceasefire?
120%. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I mean. It's with the stories that you've told me and the things that I've read, I have to ask the question. But it just sounds logical to me that everybody there wants a ceasefire.
Absolutely.
And the only people who don't want a ceasefire are Hamas and the other agitators, including Netanyahu, including everybody else.
Actually, Hamas actually stated they wanted a ceasefire.
Even Hamas wants a ceasefire.
Recently, yes. Actually, they just announced that they're going to have a ceasefire in Gaza City. Only Gaza City. Not entirety of Gaza.
Okay.
So they're pulling back troops because of U.S. pressure on them after all the protests. Biden lost the Arab vote.
Oh, yeah.
You got to understand, like, Michigan is a huge state, and it sways the Arab vote. When I tell people, how do you think Trump won Michigan?
It's true. The Arab vote. That's true.
Arab vote, and he lost that. I personally don't think Biden's going to win.
I don't see it happening either, man. It's heartbreaking to see, but you're not wrong. I think that we have an uphill battle when it comes to American politics.
Yeah,
but I think that if we end up with Trump, it's just going to be worse.
It's going to be. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be internationally. It's going to be better. Locally or domestically, it's probably going to be worse.
Yeah, well,
I think.
How do you think internationally is going to be better?
I think in terms of his brokering deals in the Middle East. I think so. The Abrahamic Accords, that was one of them.
Okay.
People assume like, oh, he was pro-Israel, trying to help Israelis. What he was trying to do is remove American assistance to Israel by helping them build deals or relationships with outside countries, importing, exporting, trade, to remove the reliability on America. That's what he was trying to do.
Okay, so basically, like
his problem is his rhetoric, but he does that to sway voters.
Yeah.
Is he perfect? Absolutely not. Is he the perfect candidate? No, he's not.
Well, I don't.
But he's the only one that could beat Biden.
He's not. He is the only one that will beat Biden. Well, I think that if we had somebody else, there is no way.
Who else?
I will vote for a ham sandwich before I vote.
Yeah,
for just, Donald Trump. Unfortunately,
there is nobody else now.
Right now there's not, but I think that ultimately, in the long run, it will be worse if Trump ends up in power. I think that when it comes to the more we talk, the more I realize how many fucking parallels there are, and the only difference is that the U.S. has done it better.
Yeah.
The U.S. has fucked it up. Fucked it up if you look at it from our side, but played the game perfectly the way that they wanted it to. They executed the plan perfectly in the U.S., and other countries are trying to do the same thing, and they're trying to do it, but they're like the great value version. Yeah. Like, there is not enough distraction in Palestine and Israel to make that. Maybe in a very small percentage of Israelis have that kind of distraction, that live that kind of life, that have the privilege to be distracted by shit. So from a Palestinian perspective and from an Arab perspective, you say that Biden lost the vote. What would it take for Biden to gain the vote again? If he said ceasefire now, would that do it?
I think the damage is done.
So you can't unring that bell, you think?
There's too many. He said a lot of things that rub people the wrong way. It's too late. I'm now speaking for all Arabs.
No, but
from what I've heard from Arabs,
sure, yeah. You got the Arab pulse. You got the Arab pulse more than I do.
He's lost that vote.
Yeah,
ceasefire now would help, but a real ceasefire, right, and a real two-state solution.
Yeah,
back to the 1967 borders, pre-67 borders. That will never happen.
That'll never happen. Okay,
that will never happen.
And what do you say to the people? Finally, what do you say to the people who have said, and this is one of the talking points that I was given when I was a kid, it's so complicated, it's a 2,000-year-old war, we're never going to fix it. What do you say to that? Like, is that
It's not complicated at all. It's as complicated as cracking a pistachio shell. right? You got to break it open and read. It's
Yeah.
not complicated at all. It's very simple.
And if that two-state solution, like, because that's the major conflict right now in the Middle East. That is the conflict, isn't it? Like there are other conflicts, but that one is like
The biggest. Yeah.
the biggest. Outside of that, what's the other big conflict, and is Palestine involved in any of that?
No, we're technically not involved in it. We don't have power. We have nothing to offer anybody else.
Yeah.
I think the biggest other conflict, it's between Yemen. I would say Yemen and
the Yemen,
Saudi, or Syria,
yeah.
the Syrian conflict.
Yeah, I would say the Yemeni conflict was what I was thinking.
Yeah, Saudi Arabia is another one. That could be another whole topic.
Bro, you are now the Hijack's Middle East correspondent. As if it was. Look, if I wasn't on a list, I'm on one now.
I'm pretty sure I've been on one for years.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've been on one for years. Bro, thank you so much for sitting down with me, man. And,
Absolutely, I appreciate it, man.
And yeah, let's sit down and talk about the Islam side and
Appreciate
get together
it.
soon.
Thank you so much.
My name is DJ Zouain. You can find me anywhere on social media at DJ Zouain. That is DJ Zouain. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, etc. You can find the Hijack on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, and you can find me DJing Saturday nights at West End Trading Company. That is West End Trading Company in Sanford, Florida. Aside from that, thank you so much for coming out and listening, and we will talk to you next time. Peace.